Harambe YouTube, it is Charles here today with part 4 of my retrospective review of Jennifer Bloodlines from Dynamite Comics 2021. I'm again out here, not my usual setting, but out in the wonderful Wyoming sunshine. I enjoy it when I can. No better place to read and talk about comic books, so let's get into it. This Jennifer Blood series, it focuses not on the original Jennifer Blood, aka Jessica Bluth, but her daughter. Um, what is her name? Fellows. Alice Fellows. Here we go. And she has taken up the mantle of Jennifer Blood after the death of the original Jennifer Blood in prison. And she found a diary of her mother explaining why she had went on this mission of revenge, why she had to kill their father, and after a combination of a hard life bouncing in and out of the foster system with this background, it made it easy for her to transition into the life of an assassin, of a vigilante. And so she is tracked down the last of the men who ended up killing her family in a town called Bountiful, Utah, which is a witness relocation program where they take the worst of the worst criminals and put them in this place to kind of run the city. And as long as they can keep the dirt they do under the table, the feds don't mess with them too much. And this story kicks off when we start in issue number 1. There had already been a few killings of the various higher up gangsters in this town, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And around this time, they brought in an assassin from Italy, and her name is, what is her name? Julia Romeo. And she is to pose as law enforcement, as a sheriff in this town, while she is hunting down the new Jennifer Blood. And these two have kind of fallen into a cat and mouse game, a catch me if you can game, of one-upsmanship. And they had an altercation in the desert in the last, the last issue. And Julia is recovering in the hospital from that and doing some research on the diary that she has found of the original Jennifer Blood, and discovers that she had a daughter. That daughter being Alice Fellows, and a son, Mark Fellows, who we find out through this issue have been working in concert to continue their mother's revenge plot. And what is frustrating to Julia is that and we find out here in this issue, in a very interesting way, we meet a character who is a federal agent. You have to forgive the background noise. We're out here in out here in the elements. But the federal agent is named Letitia Adams, and her role is kind of to be the liaison between the people in charge of Bountiful and the federal government. And she is, as we find out through this, she is corrupt. But she's in town because they have to do mandated drug testing. They have to get drug tested, and they have to get samples. And she also shows up to town to get her periodic bribe. And so she's introduced as a character who is, like I said, supposed to be the liaison between the government and Bountiful, but she is just as corrupt as everybody else. And so Julia, she ends up trying to find out, okay, how she's supposed to get these samples. She's told to go to the country club. But this country club is not the typical country club, because Bountiful is not the typical place. It is a place full of debauchery and every terrible thing you could think of going on in Bountiful. And because this is something that's done surreptitiously under the radar, the people that are coming in are not vetted. These young people, let's just say, that are being employed are not as rigorously vetted as the citizens. And Julia deduces that's how Jennifer Blood has been living in Bountiful and escaping any type of scrutiny because she is brought in as part of this unscrupulous actions of the country club. So very, very interesting stuff there. And there's a bit of humor too toward the beginning of the book because, like I said, this whole town is ran by criminals. And so while she's in the hospital, you see this nurse here, and as you see her, it gives you her name and her file. And she is a serial killer known as the Angel of Death, who had previously ended up killing people by working as a nurse. And so she keeps trying to sneak up on Julia as she's recovering, trying to put a pillow over her face, trying to kill her. But it's kind of a little comical back and forth that they have before she realizes Julia is not going to go down as easy as the rest. But while Julia is going over the file, we find Alice, aka Jennifer Blood, onto her next mission, and that is dispatching the corrupt federal agents that came through to collect the samples for the drug testing and collect their bribes. And she dispatches them, and she leaves one witness, and she tells the witness, when they ask you why I did this, tell them through neglect or apathy or stupidity or all of the above, an empire of rape murder has been thriving under the protection of the federal government. And she does two very important things here. One is she's shining light on this place that the criminal inhabitants want to keep the light away from, and she is setting up her nemesis Julia, because as she walks away, and this is something I didn't quite pick up on in my first reading, but as she walks away you see her remove this wig, and we find out in the next issue that she was donning another guise as the blonde Julia Romeo, so that the authorities will be looking for Julia and not her. So it's a very enlightening issue. A lot happens in it to move the story along, and it looks like we're going to be coming to a head between Julia and Alice in number 5, and so I'm really looking forward to that. In all honesty, I accidentally read these out of order. I thought that I'd already done a review on this one, so I went ahead and reviewed and did a recording in number 5, and as I was doing that I realized I hadn't recorded this one yet. So while chronologically it's going to be in order, they were actually recorded out of order. But number 5 is a great issue, and it closes off the first arc. Our main players do remain Alice and Julia, along with another character who ends up teaming up with Alice, aka Jennifer Blood, on her mission of revenge as kind of a redemptive arc for this other character. And so I really remember enjoying the second half of this series when I read it. So this was in 2021 from Dynamite Comics, so you will be able to find this in trade paperback form as Jennifer Blood Bloodlines. And this would be the first volume, and that first arc, I really dig it. If you like stories about espionage and action, and the next one, the action gets a little bit grittier and a little bit more violent. And so I will see you guys next time. Until then, keep reading them books, and you know I will. I'm out.